Okay, we're live
Luca,
with Mr. Mark Reifkind.
how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. We're gonna take a few seconds just to let the viewers tune in,
Hmm.
and we're gonna share on our pages. So we're not gonna get started right away. We're gonna take a couple minutes
Got it.
and go ahead and share that, and try to get as many folks as we can on here. Trying to get 100 viewers tonight.
Let me see. I'm checking it out so I can share it. Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
Share. Share now. We're good to go.
So we'll be able to see how many people we got going on, tuning in
Very
to
cool.
what we got to say. Oh, we already got one person.
Awesome.
I'm going
Hello.
to share that on my page. All right. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Uh,
What was your day like?
just the normal. Up at 3:45 in the morning. Get to work. Train 6 clients. Come home. Do my
So,
run and have lunch. Get stir fry and get set for this. Usually I'd be taking a nap right now, but I'm here now. Actually, I'd
so
be
I'm
up.
interrupting your nap.
No, actually, it was already over. Usually, I take a nap after I train, so it's around 3:30 to 4:30, and then I'm up and answering emails, writing stuff, social media, just watching House of Cards, stuff like that.
Okay, so Mark, since you wake up so early at 3:30 in the morning, do you go to bed like around 6?
Yeah, I wish. No, I usually go to bed 8:30 or 9.
Okay.
Count the, I count the nap. I get about an hour nap, so that takes care of the try to get 8 hours. But
Okay, cool.
yeah, I'm used to it now. We both get up. Tracy and I both get up at 3:45. Have
Wow.
coffee, get ready for the day.
Like I've never heard of this before. Like I thought like 5 o'clock was early. Like 3:30. That's like
Yeah, it's really. I'll tell you this. It's really depending on whether it's daylight savings time or whether it's standard time. Because right now we're in daylight saving time. 3:30 in daylight savings time is really 2:30. When we switch over, it'll be the
wow,
actual 30 for my body and my circadian rhythm.
wow.
So one's the middle of the night, one's early morning. And I've been on middle of the night for the last 6 months. So when it switches back November, like we'll switch when I come up to Montreal with you. That weekend we'll switch back. So when I come back, well, at least I'll have, my body will wake up at a semi-normal time. But these
I'm
last
gonna
six,
mess you up.
no, you're going to help me up. I can't wait to get back to standard time. 3:30 daylight savings time it's bad. But I'm used
So
to it.
why so early, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what gets you up so early in the morning to like, okay, at 3:30, that's it. Like some people wake up at 5 or 6, and then you're waking up like 3:30.
Well, my first client's at 6. Uh, and I have a 20-minute, 25 drive to work. And I hate being rushed. You know, I,
Okay.
I, I don't like being rushed. So I get up, and plus I have to do my body maintenance before I start. So that's a good segue. So it's really been a routine for me. I get up, I do my, have my coffee, I get check the email, do a little bit of this or that, and then drive to work. I leave the house around 5:20, 5:10. Um, um, Plus, I straight razor shave, right? So I've got to be a little bit awake when I shave in the morning with a straight razor. So I'm a little bit awake before I actually put cold steel on my face. Um, and then I get
So
to
you
work.
actually shave with a knife.
Well, razor's not a knife, but it's close. I have a bunch of straight razors, and I got into that years ago. It's been about 8 years
Yeah.
now. So sharpen. That's what I was doing in between my after rucking and my after rucking and the and lunch. I sharpening my razors. It's very meditative. I love it. Um, so,
So are you a knife collector?
I hate to say I'm a collector because I'm a minimalist. So I don't like to collect anything, but I like to have the things I've gone through a lot of knives and razors trying to find the ones that I like, and the ones that I don't, I
Yeah.
give away or I sell. I want to have just the right amount that I need,
Yeah.
but I don't want to hoard anything. I don't like that. I don't like stuff that's cluttered because it clutters my mind. So
Yeah.
to find the ones I really like, I've bought and sold a lot of them, but a lot of them I just give away. If it's not what I want, I'll just give it away. And I've got I probably have 15, 16 razors now. It's 2 7-day sets. It's an old tradition. They have 7-day sets, but yeah, I don't like to collect.
You're not a collector, Mark.
Dude, I had 50 razors at one time and the same amount of shaving stones. So that was the collecting part. But
Okay.
yeah, so I get to work around 5:30, and then I do 20, 25 minutes of body maintenance. And my first client rolls in around 6 a.m. And I take
Awesome.
I take 6 clients in a row till either 12 or 1. And I fast during the day, so I don't eat. I just drink green tea.
Okay.
And then I come home and train. So I'll either do
Okay.
or I'll do my rucking like I did today. Then I eat.
Excellent.
That's my first meal. And then the rest of the day, take a nap, get up, and do the rest of the work. So it's worked out really well.
Excellent.
Yeah, it helps Tracy.
That's awesome.
It helps Tracy. Will do it with me. Otherwise, it would be really hard if she stayed. Well, she stays up later than I do, but she gets up with me. That helps.
Okay. Okay. So before we go on, I want to tell our viewers about your extensive background in athletics, because I believe it's really important for them to be aware of who you are and how important this video is.
Cool.
And I also want to say, like, how for me personally, I don't know if you guys know, or well, I'm sure you're aware, Mark, that I was incarcerated.
Right.
And I was incarcerated for 7 years.
A long time.
And I happened to come across one of Pavel's books by chance. And I read it and totally changed my life. Honestly, I wasn't into training then. It was a form of stress relief. It's how I became stronger. It was my form of escape, and it also became my passion while I was there. And I wanted to just learn and absorb as much as possible on that subject, on training. And so one of the Power to the People.
One of my
is the first book. Yeah, is the first book I read by Pavel, and it's how I got introduced to his form of training. His basically his philosophy, or you could say, his teachings, what he has to offer, which is totally different than what you could find in any magazine or any book. Because of the level of detail he goes into everything, really, but he makes it so understandable, as you know.
Right.
And so then I started ordering Pavel's books, and I used to get the old hardstyle catalog through Dragon Door, and that's where you were featured, and you and Tracy. And that's where I met you indirectly, is when I was incarcerated, is I learned about you and Tracy while I was there. And so you became one of my mentors.
Awesome.
And I just wanted to tell you that how important this is for me. And this is unreal. I'm telling you right now, this is not something I had planned. If you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be talking with you live on Facebook, I would have said you're a liar. So
that means a lot to me. Is to be able to inspire someone, especially from afar, right? From an article or something like that. As a teacher, as a trainer, there's really nothing better for me. It makes me feel like, this is what I do this for. This is what I hope to accomplish with all the stuff I do. So to hear it and to meet you like this and to hear that, it just is, there's nothing better. It means a lot to me. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And sometimes we're not aware of how much reach we have to other people. Right. We're just barely scratching the surface of actually how many people you realize that you're reaching through the things that you do, through social media, through the books that or the programs you create. It's like you're not even aware of the fraction of the people that you're able to touch. And right. I just want to tell you that for me, it changed my life.
Thank you. That's for me to hear. There's nothing better
Awesome.
for me to hear. And when I read,
Awesome.
when I read Pavel's the first articles that he wrote, and when I wrote the first RKC challenge book, and then Power of the People, I still think is probably, I would term it the best book ever written on strength.
Yep.
Because it's so
Yep.
understandable. And I've read all the, super training, and I've read every scientific book and all of them, because I've been interested in this. I've been reading about this for 44 years now. So
Yep.
that book it changed your life. It changed my life dramatically, and by inference, it changed Tracy's life. So when I first read that book, when I first read, the RKC book, the Russian Kettlebell Challenge, comrades, so we wanted tough with little, it just touched me. It was right. It spoke to me. And then to meet
Mm-hmm.
the person, it was just, it was just unbelievable. And to
Yeah.
come where I've come through this, and to learn what I've learned,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I never would have believed it either.
Yeah.
Never would have believed it either.
Okay. So, Pavel calls you Riff. A lot of people call you Riff.
Right.
And he said that you're a hard man with high mileage.
Right.
How does that resonate with you?
Well, Riff, I owned a gym. I owned a bodybuilding, powerlifting gym, world gym in Campbell, California for 9 years with a professional bodybuilder, Scott Wilson. And at the time I was a bodybuilder, and I was, somewhere between 185 and 200 pounds, depending on what time it was. And I'm 5'5".
Wow.
So my Reifkind, so people called me Big Riff. So that was my nickname, was Big Riff. And then after we closed the gym, I had a garage gym, which I still have, a different house. But after we closed the gym, I never trained in a commercial gym. It was converted my garage.
Okay.
And my really good friends, who's a 5-time world champion, Highland Games champion, Jim McGoldrick, who was the Big Chief, and I was Big Riff. He called my gym the Riffstonian Institute. So I became the Riffstonian. That's my email. It's Riffstonian. Because he was
Riffstonian.
And the funny part of it was, the first time I met Pavel, I heard of Pavel, was I wrote an article for Milo magazine. Have you heard of Milo magazine?
Yes.
So Milo magazine, that was Pavel's first article, Vodka, Pickle Juice, and Kettlebells. Okay, and in my article was an article called Stones in the Afternoon. And that was about Jim McGoldrick teaching me how to throw rocks, basically. He was getting ready for a Highland Games competition where was a stone throw. So we went to this quarry and bought all these stones, and my little 10-year-old son, Gabriel, got the Gabe stone, and I got the Riff stone. And, we've got the same. I've got pictures of them up on my website of these stones. And that's when the Jim called it the Riffstonian Institute. So
that's cool.
Article, because powerlifting at the time had become very political, and I just love the simplicity and the purity of stone lifting. And Milo magazine's a great resource, and it was and it is. And they did a lot of things about the history of manhood stones and stone lifting. And there was like I said, there's a purity and a simplicity to picking up a rock and putting it on your shoulder. And did I lose okay? So it's either on your shoulder or it's not. There's no style in rock lifting, right? You're strong enough to pick it up and put it on your shoulder. You're not. So I love that. So in that Milo article magazine was Pavel's first article on kettlebells, and I thought, this is perfect, right? A kettlebell. It's a cannonball with a handle. It ties completely.
But you can pick it up.
Exactly. It's just like the stone.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into stone lifting. And at the time, I was really broken up physically from all the 13 years of competitive powerlifting. I had a back injury coming on, my shoulder, my knee, and all that stuff. So I bought a kettlebell. I was one of the first people to buy a kettlebell, and I got the DVD. And as soon as I started swinging the bell, the first thing it reminded me was gymnastics, because I was a gymnast too.
Mm-hmm.
So in gymnastics, the gymnast is swinging around the high bar. Well, the kettlebell is around you. And it's like, I knew how to swing. So I took to it like a duck to water. It's like, there's something here. So I just immediately, and then I love Pavel's hardcore attitude, man. I mean, I was a bodybuilder. I was a power lifter. I I reveled in that hardcore real deal world. And as soon as I found the kettlebell, it was a fit from day one. And then,
That's excellent.
yeah, the story continues with all that, but that was the beginning of it. So my article and Pavel's article, that was the first article on kettlebells in the country. So, yeah, and then, I started posting on the forum and started talking, and then Mike Castro Giovanni, right?
Yes. Yeah.
In the kettlebell, there's the story of how I introduced Mike to kettlebells, and then Mike was the one who said, "Listen, I know this guy. I know Pavel. He wants to talk to you." So Pavel, I got on the phone with Pavel, and Pavel said, I want you to take a bigger role in the community, because I'd had a lot of powerlifting success as a coach and as an athlete. And I knew Pavel from his books. I was so honored. It's like, absolutely. So I started, writing on the forum, and then next thing I know, I got certified. And then it was
incredible.
Yeah. And
incredible.
ironic part was, at the time that I got certified, I mean, I was just jacked up, my knee and my back and my shoulder. And, Mike Castro was saying, "Well, you should go and get certified." It's like, Mike, I can barely walk. I'll never get through this. And Brett Jones, Brett and Mike Castro were over my house in the gym, and they were like, "Oh, you can do it." It's like, and Mike actually trained me for it, and got me. We're doing 100-rep sets of swings. I mean, just crazy stuff, just for conditioning. And went to the cert, and somehow I passed. And this was in 2005. And from that, it was like, I found I was done with powerlifting. I was done with the barbell. I fell in love with the kettlebell, and it rehabilitated me. I fell in love with the kettlebell. Like I said, that was 98, and I got my first bell in 2001.
Wow.
And I called my studio Giria Strength. And it was the first kettlebell-centric studio in the country, well, in the world, because nobody, Tracy thought I was nuts. She says, like, "You're calling it Giria?" I said, "Yeah, I love it."
What is that?
Nobody, people are going to think it's a lamb sandwich, a gyro or something. Because nobody's going to be able to pronounce it, much less. I said, "I don't care. I don't care. I love this thing." I put a big old kettlebell in the front of my storefront. I already had the clients, so I didn't care. I didn't need more clients. I was already doing what I was doing. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. I'm all in. So that's
you want to make it your own. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want.
So I just
so
say again.
Going back to you said you're in gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
You did bodybuilding, and then was it bodybuilding first or powerlifting first?
It was gymnastics from the time I was 14 till the time I was 21 and a half, 22. And then I hurt my knee bad in high school, and I came back, and then in my junior year of college, I blew out my shoulder.
Okay.
And so I had a full dislocation, and my shoulder was useless. So I started running, because I was 21 years old. I'd been training 5-6 hours a day. And I had all this fitness, and I couldn't do anything with my upper body. So I taught myself to run. And I thought, some chance I'll get to the Olympics somehow as a runner. Well, that wasn't going to happen. But then I fell in love with running, and then I realized, then the first year that the Ironman triathlon came out, and I'm slower than snot, but I can suffer for a long time. So I took up triathlon training. And then I did that for a couple years, 2.5 years, just trying to build a base. And then I got involved back in bodybuilding, because in gymnastics, the physique is always there, right? The gymnast, it's just all that body weight training. I always had the physique, the upper body physique, no legs, but the upper body. So I got back into bodybuilding and just was really natural at it. I really had a feel for it. So I did that for 8 years, and I competed for up to 8 years. And we bought this bodybuilding gym. And then I decided, bodybuilding is very cool. The training is awesome. The competitions are just horribly stupid. It's not a competition. It's a beauty contest. And as you can see, I'm not very pretty. So it wasn't, no, that's how I felt. Like, you can't, in powerlifting, like, say, Luca, you say, "I want to squat 600. Well, I can put 600 on the bar and compete with you. And I can either make it or fail, but I can compete. And in bodybuilding, you can't compete. The judges move you around like, pawns on a chessboard.
Yeah.
And I got involved, we bought this gym, which was one of the oldest gyms in California, and a world-renowned gym for sprinters, decathletes, Highland Games tour. That's where I met Jim McGoldrick, who was a Highland Games guy. Guys, Bruce Jenner, before he was Caitlin, trained there as, he trained for the decathlon when he trained in San Jose, and he trained at our gym for a while. I never met him, but before we bought it. But I thought powerlifting, this is really, really cool because I needed to be an athlete. I needed, the training of bodybuilding was great, but the other stuff was silly. So I got back into powerlifting at age 30. I got into powerlifting at age 33, and because I wanted to be an athlete, I wanted to compete again. So then I spent 13 years as a competitive powerlifter.
Incredible. And what would you say are the lessons that you away from your background in those sports, and now you're able to transfer over to either your training or your students' training? And I've heard a lot of your quotes, and then people quote you all the time, and it's just incredible the stuff that you have such extensive knowledge. Is there anything that you could, let's say, to our viewers right now, say, okay, from the sports that I've done, now I'm able to do this?
Well, the takeaway from me, from all those things, everything I do, I dove into with my full heart. I was very
exactly.
And my goal was always to be, if I couldn't be the best overall, I wanted to be the best I could be. So regardless of how impossible it seemed, I didn't care. I always looked at what the best were doing. I mean, it's pretty much what we talk about in StrongFirst, reverse engineering what the best do naturally. I always looked at, when I got into bodybuilding, I didn't look at what, the last place guys were doing. I looked at what the winners were doing. And I tried to work my way into it. The same with running, the same with gymnastics. Everything that I did, I was looking for, what do the best do? And how can I emulate that to whatever degree I could?
So you're talking about their approach, not just the training, but the entire approach.
Oh, yeah. The mental training and the commitment. I mean, some will say, obsession. One of my favorite quotes, it's not me, it's like, obsession is a word used by the lazy to describe the dedicated. And basically, that's how I am with things. It's like, I'm going to do it. Nowadays, everybody speaks poorly of specialists. Like, one of my least favorite quotes is, specialization is for insects and for the best,
First time I hear that one.
Yeah, it's a Robert Heinlein quote. Is like, specialization is for insects, and it's like, yeah, maybe, but I don't like sucking at things. I really hate doing things poorly. So I want to get good at whatever I'm going to do, and the fastest way is a straight line. So I will do what I need to do in order to get as good as I can, because it feels good to be good, right? Not in question of beating other people. Oh, that's fun too. But to be successful, to actually accomplish things. So I'd say what, I brought from all those, and everything I learned something so different from gymnastics. I mean, the lessons from gymnastics are just crazy. Even coming back from 2 really serious accidents. I mean, I had a really horrific knee injury and a shoulder injury. And then, powerlifting, that, each one of those sports has a special place in my heart. I mean, if anything, now my mindset, I would, it's between bodybuilding and powerlifting, because I love muscle. I'm a muscle head at heart, but the powerlifting, that confrontation with the bar, which is a confrontation with yourself, is interesting to me, to put it in a way. It's like I just did, I discovered the barbell, standing barbell press. And that's a long story about how my shoulder, took to that. But I pressed 185 the other day, which, my body.
I saw that.
And
incredible.
It was, I'm blown away. I put 140 pounds on my barbell press in 3 years, because I started with an empty. That's how bad the movement was for me. But every time you get to that, and whether it's, when I felt the same way when I pressed 100 pounds for the first time, or 135, it didn't really matter. What mattered was that there's that moment where it's just you and the bar, and you have to do it. And you don't know whether you can do it. There's that step, that cliff you have to step off of and commit.
Yeah.
And I hate it and I love it.
It's a
It's
fear,
scary,
and it's a fear,
right?
and I think you have to be all in, or else there's a chance. There's more chances you're gonna fail if you have that doubt, you know. So it's just go for it.
And that teaches you how to do that, not in the gym, but in all aspects of your life. And that to me is how do you be strong in anything? You have to be willing to fail. You
Yeah,
have to be willing to take that chance and see really where you are.
yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, for the last, I had my knee replaced 3 years ago. And the 10 years preceding that were really frustrating for me because I was basically crippled. And I felt like even though I was a master instructor and I had all this knowledge and I had all this understanding of technique and ability to teach and coach, there's so little that I could actually do anymore that it was so frustrating for me because in my heart, I felt like nobody knows who I really am. Nobody saw me as a gymnast. Nobody saw me as a power lifter. And then you hear all those, oh yeah, that old guy. Yeah. The old guy going, yeah, back when I was young, I could do this, and that drove me nuts. And so after I got
So
my,
now
huh?
you're in a better place than you were 10,
Oh
15 years
God,
ago.
yeah. No, it's unbelievable. I'm in, knock on wood, at this point, I'm in the best shape I've been in 20 something years, maybe more.
That's amazing.
Fast release strength
That's
and all
amazing.
that. So, and a lot of that has to do with the body maintenance. I mean, that was really what that came about because I had to find a way to work on myself. I mean, my knee and my shoulder and my back were so hurt from so many years, like Pavel said, of so many years of high mileage, right? Because I didn't sit on after I got hurt, I didn't sit down. I kept finding a way, right? Find a path, make a path. And I had it, like how many times a week can you go to a chiropractor? How many times a week can you get a massage? Not that many,
Yeah.
but I needed daily care. And I had to figure a way out to take care of myself. And that's where body maintenance, the idea and the concepts and the methods came from, was that need to fix myself so I could keep going on in whatever way possible.
Amazing.
My training for years, I wasn't worried about, I could swing and I could snatch and kettlebell press, and that was basically it. Couldn't walk. I couldn't walk 2 blocks, so I did what I could
Because
do.
of the knee.
Yeah, my knee, when I blew it out, I had surgery on it and basically only bent 90 degrees. So for all the time from, 85 on, my knee only bent 90 degrees. And it got more and more arthritic to the point where it was just, I was dragging a dead stump around with me. And it was painful too. I mean, it was seriously painful. I mean, it was really arthritic and really nasty. And I didn't have a choice, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to get in bed. I'm 45, 50 years old. I'm going to get in bed and give up. It's like, that's not going to happen. So I learned ways
Definitely.
to give myself a massage, to give myself adjustment, to to do self-care. And that was really empowering, and I learned the other thing I would say as far as the lessons from all that sport is you don't have to understand why something works to use it. Like right now, I have no idea how this phone is doing this, right? I do not understand the mechanism by which I can talk to you in Montreal and we can transmit. I don't understand it, but I'm going to use it. And it's the same
Pretty
thing.
incredible.
Well, I love science. Don't get me wrong. But at a certain point, this is one of the benefits of being my age, right? I've seen all these things come and go. I've seen what science has said is the truth for 44 years and then change their mind 10 minutes later and then change their mind 10 minutes later, then change their mind, so on and so on. And realize now, if it works for me, that's all that really counts. It may work for somebody else, but most importantly, it's like I'm trying to take care of myself first. What they say in the plane, right? Put your oxygen mask on first. That's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So that's been
Awesome.
another big lesson.
I I realized that all the sports that you were in before are not team sports. They're all things that you do solo. Basically, you're competing against other people. Personal. It's personal. So you're not really training with others as far as in a team. It's not the same. So
It's
it's
not
not the same.
right.
So what it is right now for you that keeps you going? What's your personal journey as far as all this that you were doing before and was for yourself, and you're doing it alone and you want to continue? What keeps you going? What keeps you going? What is it, the thing that makes you want to get stronger and makes you want to get up and train and want to improve all the time? What is it?
Because the realization is that you're either getting stronger, you're getting weaker. There's no maintenance. Okay, so if you're taking it easy, you're getting weaker, and you're just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And I don't like how that feels. To me, a lot of it's just a sheer feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, and I work, I'm a personal trainer, dude. I'm just a regular personal trainer. I work with everybody, from 80-year-olds to, whatever. I'll take anybody, and I don't care. I get a couple athletes now and then, but most of the time it's regular Joe and Jane average, and making them better feels good. But I think most people they don't understand how good it feels to feel strong and enduring and healthy. They've never experienced it. So when the going gets tough, they quit because they don't know how good it feels on the other side. I do.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I've had the highs and the lows. I mean, I was, when I got hurt in gymnastics in college, I was an elite Olympic level gymnast. In my mind, I was going to the Olympics. There was no doubt, unless I got hurt, which I did. But I was in that kind of shape, mentally and physically. So I knew I could fly. I knew what that felt like. I had as close to total control of my body as a person can have. Okay. And then I've been a cripple to the point where I couldn't walk 2 blocks and every step hurt. So I've been at the bottom of the barrel, worse than to go to, when I was trying to walk through airports and Tracy and I were going to a certain, like watching people, go upstairs. I'm like, and I'm sweating, just trying to climb. I was like, what's this? It's like I see these overweight, out of shape people, and they're just walking up the stairs. It's like, this sucks, and I could relate to people at the bottom where they had no ability, and I could relate to the people and experience that high level of conditioning as strength. I know how good it feels when like when I did that press, right? When I've done all that, where I did, I did the 5-minute 48 kilo 1-arm swing challenge, right?
That is just unbelievable.
Thank you. I mean, I'm really proud of that. I know what it feels to overcome and to win, and I live for that, on whatever level I can do. It's like if I can set a goal and accomplish it and attain that level of fitness, whatever you want to call it, that shape, that conditioning, where a month ago, whatever, I couldn't do this. And now, not only can I do it, it's nothing. It's easy.
It's nothing.
Power. It feels good to feel strong. It feels good to feel fit. And that's
it's very empowering.
Because what's the alternative? Weak and soft and dissipated. I hate that feeling. So that's what gets
you can't really be in between, it's
right.
Either you're strong or you're
and it's mainly mental. It's mainly mental. So when you start quitting, like one of the things I always say, it's like, never ask yourself, do I feel like working out? Because the answer is going to be no.
No.
Yeah, I mean, people think, well, Mark, you've trained for 40-something years. It should be easy for you now. It's harder because you know what's coming. You know it's going to suck. And you're tired and you whatever. But I never, ever ask myself that feeling. And that's part of the benefits of not have a team, right? I can't rely on anybody else. I don't relying on anybody else because most of the time they disappoint, right? Your partners doesn't show up for leg day. They show up for bench press, but they don't show up for leg day. So I don't, I have training partners, and if they show up, they show up. If they don't, I do it myself, which is another
Yeah.
thing I love about the bell. I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
I
Just
don't
you
need
and the
a spot.
kettlebell.
I don't need a spot. I just need me and some floor and a bell. And that, to me, that again, going back to the stones, that simplicity, that purity, I love it. I love it.
I love it too. Uh, I think Tanya wrote, "Embrace the suck."
Right?
Embrace the suck.
Yeah.
So, what advice can you give to someone just like we were talking about before, that is either injured or they don't have the, they're at a place maybe they've never trained before, or they're looking for that thing. Maybe they're looking for a kettlebell, that next thing, where there's going to get them going or kickstart them into fitness. Maybe they're, middle aged and they never really done anything. What is it? What type of mindset do they need?
Okay. Here's the thing. Motivation comes from inspiration. Okay. You got to be motivated. You got to be inspired. So it's going back. You say, like, how do I do this? If you see my Facebook page, you'll see gymnasts, runners, weightlifters, rock lifters, martial artists. I take ballet dancers. I'll take motivation and inspiration from any athlete, right? I see
Yeah.
somebody, that moves well or does some incredible feat. I look at it, I have awe.
Yeah.
That inspires me. So from inspiration comes motivation. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's one of my heroes. I wrote a book on chess training, and I dedicated it to Arnold back in 1983. And Arnold has a great little quote, speech he gave in this. It's like, it's not about what you want to do. It's who do you want to be?
Exactly.
And he encapsulates my entire life in all this. It's like, I didn't want to just have the body. I wanted to be that guy. I just didn't want to put on the suit, be that, whatever, whether it's gymnastics or bodybuilding. I wanted to be that guy. So I
Yeah.
think, who's the
It's basically the vision that you have for yourself.
So repeat that, please.
I said it's basically the vision that you have for yourself, who you want to become.
Right, and even if so far removed, you think, oh, I could never do that. Don't tell anybody, right? You just have it in your own head and dream it.
Yeah.
Right? So I have, when I did the 185 press last week, that had been like, I have 3 levels of goals, right? I have my short-term goal, which is more than I did last week. And I have my big goal, which is like, okay, I would really like this. Then I have my dream goal. The 185 was a dream goal. I never really thought I could do it. It doesn't even matter, right? If you can or not. You just have to have something to reach for.
Yes.
That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's like, who do I want to be? Like, I do a lot of reading, like a lot of special forces guys. And it's not so much what they do physically, it's their mindset. Like, how do they do what they do mentally? How do they overcome their own their mental weakness, their fear, knowing that whatever obstacles they have? That interests me. What the best do from a mental perspective as much as anything, that mental strength, because, the body does what the mind says.
Yeah. I think also, mindset is everything. And you look at fitness programs nowadays, they don't really talk about mindset. They talk about the workout, they talk about the nutrition, but we don't really talk about the mindset so much. I don't know why, but I'd say it's probably one of the most important topics there is for people. And you look at people in general, general population. What do they lack? Is the mindset. They're always maybe sabotaging their results or their effort, and they always go back to the comfort.
Right. Yeah. I see it too general to say really, but in one sense, I'm going to generalize because that's all you can really do is generalize. There's always exceptions. I find people to be basically either workers or pleasure seekers.
Yeah, I like that.
The pleasure seekers are always looking for a shortcut. The workers are Tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to do it. I have to eat tuna and egg whites to get it. I didn't think about tuna and egg whites. That's it. Seekers like, well, maybe I can do this, and I can substitute that. Can I substitute marshmallows for the tuna? No, you know. But the people, because the people that want it, want it.
Yeah.
They just need to know how. And the pleasure seekers, there's, you know, people who are they are. I don't judge. I don't care. I don't care. But if you come to me and you tell me, I want to achieve this, I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
And then you may or may, whether you do it is, it's not on me, it's on you.
Yeah. Do you think there's a point in someone's life that they can have that shift where they can go, like you say, from that pleasure seeking into, you know, I've reached a all-time low in my life and I realize that I need to do something about it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now's the right time, you know. It's
look at my wife. She made a decision, you know, she lost 100 pounds, you know, in less than a year, completely transformed herself from being, you know, indulgent food and all this stuff, never exercised, to, you know, one of the fittest women in the world at any age, much less at her age now. So absolutely, it happens every day when people make up their mind. You know, how does any decision get made? It's never really incrementally. Once it'll be incremental until people make a decision. Then once they make a decision, game on.
That's it. It's a shift.
Right.
A shift in your perception and the decision that you make. Things could be incremental in terms of maybe adding up, and then things become too overwhelming, and then there's something that breaks the camel,
like
so to
this.
speak.
No, it's never like that.
No.
But again, it's you train your mind like you train your body, right? So you fail and you try again, and you fail and you try again. One of my favorite lines, and I never did martial arts other than some, you know, karate when I was 8 years old. But I always looked at them, the martial artists, as much as anything as I do for inspiration. And, you know, one of my favorites is the founder of I think it's Goju, who says technique first, spirit first, technique second. Spirit, which is mind, the mindset, having the right spirit of training and willing, like I said, embrace the stuff and willing to embrace, you know, not, you know, the only way around is through.
Yeah.
Stop looking for easy ways. Do what you need to do. And you'll find out it gets easier. What was the ceiling is now the floor.
And sometimes when we want to go in a straight line, we have to kind of navigate, because life throws us curveballs.
Right. And hey, like I said, my home training was basically rehab. And I made up my mind I was going to be as strong in my rehab as I could be. I couldn't lift super heavy weights. I couldn't squat. I couldn't walk. But I was going to do my rehab as dedicatedly as an Olympian would do his training. And that was my approach. I heard
you say in a video that you would never sacrifice your strength for your mobility and your flexibility. Right. And as so many people do, so many people chase strength over movement, you know, and then that's where injury occurs. And then, you know, it's the wrong approach.
Yeah. Well, you know, I did it for years as a power lifter, and I ignored all the signs that were telling me, like, you're going down the wrong road. But I was so determined. And again, part of it is you don't know, right? I didn't know if you said, Mark, I got a crystal ball, and in 5 years you're not going to be able to walk. That might have been different, but I thought I was trying to make, you know, myself stronger.
Yeah.
I thought stronger would help me move better. And it didn't. It made me worse. It was too much tension. It's all about balance, right? It's all about you need enough mobility. Now I see people in the other trap. It's all mobility.
Yeah.
You know, they're movers. Everybody, like, you know, they're a fit pro or they're a mover. It's like, I don't relate to any of those terms. You know, if anything, I'm a lifter, you know, and you need mobility and you need all those balancing parts. And I think you said one of the reasons you don't know why a lot of the trainers are the way they are now. And to be brutally honest, I think a lot of them, they never had an athletic background in terms of competitive sport. They grew up in grew up in trainers. They didn't have coaches. I had a
Yeah.
coach. It was a very different relationship. You do what the coach tells you. Okay, you don't the coach, because you're going towards a specific goal as an athlete and a coach. And I think a lot of what happens in the industry is people don't know how to get their students or their clients from A to Z, because they're afraid to give them really basic stuff. Like, okay, here's the goal. You're going to do, whether it's, you know, a 12 kilo press, or whether it's a 50-pound deadlift, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant what the goal is. The concept is, you're here, you want to go there. How do we get there? And once you've achieved that goal, pick a new goal. You know, one of my favorite phrases from Ed Cohn, who's to me the greatest powerlifter of all time, is like, win, lose, or draw, the next day you're back in the gym. Like after he won the world championships for he's like, well, what are you doing tomorrow, Ed? He's like, I'm going to go train, because he's getting ready again.
That's it.
So it's like, yeah, exactly. So if you lose, don't be too attached to it. If you win, don't be too attached to it, because what do? This is who you are. You're in the gym. You're an athlete. You're a training person, right? You're a person who trains.
It's part of the craft.
Right. And you're honing your craft. Like I hone my razors, right? I polish that edge. I create that edge and I polish that edge. It's the same thing. That's what you're doing in the gym. I always love that about the gym, is like, you have control over your body, right? You can make yourself, you know, I didn't have enough money to buy a Lamborghini, but I could make myself a Lamborghini myself, right? You have control over that. That's what bodybuilding was. It's like, you're an artist. You can create this physique. You can change how you look with your will. That to me was cool. Some people could care less about that. It is just always something that from the very first time, you know, it struck me. That's like, okay, that's where I belong. That's why it's easy for me to do what I do. It's not a struggle. It's a struggle not to do it.
It's part of who you are.
Right. And
it's part of who you are.
I was 14.
And so you're talking about before, you know, you're a minimalist. Mm-hmm. And I see that also when you're training. Mm-hmm. You focus on the swing and you focus on the press with the barbell.
Right.
That's the ultimate minimalist program. It's a program minimum, right? Similar.
Right. It is similar. Pause the side press and right. I use with the deadlift. I'm done with the deadlift. I pulled I did a triple body weight deadlift at 181 in competitions. Like I don't like deadlifting heavy. It hurts too much. But so the pull is a pull, right? The swing is a pull.
Yeah.
And part of what, you know, my philosophy, my ideas about training is people need to find the lifts that suit them best.
So you would say it's a personality thing.
Well, it's body type, right? The way it's really hard for me to keep my chest up. I have really long arms and a big chest, and my two-hand swings, my backgrounds. It's not, I can do them, but it's not, never feels great. One-arm swings feels great. So you know, over time, I that ended up being what I came to do, and that's when I wanted to explore. I mean, I love the kettlebell press. If I had my choice, I'd rather be better at a kettlebell press than the barbell press. But the barbell press suits my body. I come out of the barbell press, the next day I feel great. So I think over time you find those lifts that suit your physique, that suit your orthopedic structure, and suit your temperament.
Are there any things that... What's that?
And then explore those.
Yes.
How far you can take those.
Yeah. What would you say are your, don't want to say weaknesses, but what are the things that you're less good at? What's that?
I don't have a problem saying weaknesses. I have plenty of weaknesses. So in terms of lifts?
Whatever, if you want to call it, if you want to have lifts or maybe restrictions or anything Anything you can think of.
Well, I have an artificial knee, which I'm trying to not wreck, right? Because I want it to last the rest of my life. I've had a really serious herniation, an L4, L5 herniation, um, which I'm really fixed. I rehab. Don't ever want to have that pain again. Need a shoulder replacement. I had a pretty horrific gymnastics accident and pretty much tore out every structure in my shoulder when I was 21. So there's certain shoulders, like I don't do many get-ups. My knee, my back, and my shoulder get-ups I'm still working on them. I do a lot of body weight get-ups, but it just doesn't work for me. And I've knocked my head again. So it's like, it's not the best lift for me. Pull-ups, I'm still working to get my pull-up back. If my shoulder would not freak out every time I could do tons of pull-ups mechanically, but my goal is the day after I train, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to feel like I did anything. People love to be sore. It's like the day after I do something more than I've ever done before, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to feel sore. I don't want to feel stiff. I spent 20 years feeling sore and stiff and being immobile. I want to feel fluid and loose and mobile and flexible. So, overhead shoulder stuff is a weakness, and that's, structural architecture, orthopedic architecture. When my knee was before my knee replacement, there's nothing I could do. I couldn't foam roll my knee. I couldn't stretch my knee. I couldn't mobilize my knee into health. It was jacked. It was structurally bad. So I've accepted the things like, for fact, if I do too much ab work or like 2-hand swings, really load my abs, double kettlebell front squats, really load my abs. If I do too much ab work, my lower back goes out. It's about balancing the structure of the body, right? So
Indeed.
Spinal erectors, and that's what we're going to go over in the core, learning how and address your body and the body that shows up that morning for training. How do you get to neutral? Because neutral is where we should start from. Joint centration and, neutral spine and neutral cervicals and neutral, all these things. That should be our starting point. It's like you got a race car. You want the wheels to both point in the same direction. If one wheel's going this way and you think you're going to drive fast, you're wrong. And that's our body, right? People get up and they jump up and they load the body, and it's like, this side of the body is working real well, and this side is completely dysfunctional. They don't even know it. They load it, and then they get hurt, and then they start all over. I don't want that anymore.
For your body maintenance, you say you do it on a regular basis, like a daily. That's your routine.
Absolutely. Body maintenance, I'll take this. Before, I've done it with Tracy can vouch for this, 2.5 hours a day when I got home from work, just to be able to work the next day.
Wow.
No, I'm not kidding. Between my knee and my back and my shoulder, you're shaking her head, huh? Right, honey? I would come home from work and I'd get on the roller and I'd get the percussion massager and I'd get the lacrosse balls and that's all in rehab. I trained. I never missed any. There's only so many things I could do. I couldn't do certain movements because it'd make me feel worse, not better. So I had to learn how to let things go. If I try a lift, like I'm getting my handstand back, right? It's just not there anymore. I'm like, let this go. There's so many lifts and exercises you can do. Find the ones that your body likes. You don't have to do everything. So I would come home from work and I'd train whatever lifts. And the thing that saved me was the one-arm swing and the snatch. Those were my go-tos. And the press to some extent. But I really, for the longest time, my lifts were the swing and the snatch. And I'd come home and do my training and I'd get on the floor and I'd roll and I'd stretch and I'd thump and I would just work my body. So, first things first, right, dude? I got to go make a living. So if I didn't do the body maintenance, and then it started from 2.5 hours to now, because I can get away with 15 minutes every day. Because, people get on a rumble roller or something like that and they freak out. Like, I could lay on the hardest rumble roller and you could stand on my side and I could take a nap. Because I've worked those knots out. I've worked those imbalances out. They're not there anymore.
Yeah.
That's and the idea is having a routine so you can kind of check yourself. Where am I today? Not where were you 3 months ago, today.
Yeah.
Was I on a plane for 12 hours? Or did I sit for 12 hours? Or did I do the biggest workout of my life now? You know.
I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't realize, especially if they're training a lot or if they don't do anything, is that they have to constantly assess every day because the body's always changing. And you were not the same. You're not the same way you were yesterday or 2 weeks ago.
You said it right there. Whether you're training or nothing, it all has an effect, right? So if you do nothing, it's going to lock you up in one way. If you do, do 10 sets of 20, barbell squats and see how you feel the next day, it's going to have an effect, right? So that's part of the process, and that's why the concept for me of the body maintenance is that it's a very simple routine. You get in, you go nose to toes, you check things out. It's like, okay, what part of me needs attention? Because I've learned over time, like, if you don't pay attention to the little things, sometimes you'll get a little tap on the head. If you ignore the tap on the head, it's a 2x4 to the head or your lower back. And you think, like, how'd that happen? It's like, I sent you the signs, you ignored them, right? That's how it goes. And there's a joke where a guy's a very religious guy, and there's this big storm and, there's a flood and the guy comes by and says, let me take you in my raft. He says, no, God will provide. So next thing the storms are up, he's up on the second floor. He says, well, the helicopter comes by. Well, you want to ride? No, God will provide. And he's on the roof and then it takes him out and he dies. He goes up to heaven and God's like, why didn't you help me, God? He says, well, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. I did. You have to pay attention to the signs.
Exactly.
And that people get involved in training and they think you can only train as hard as you can recover. There's plenty of times it was never doing the workout. It was recovering from the workout that got me. I could do the workout, but I'd be crippled for a week.
Too much emphasis on the workout nowadays.
Right.
How much can I do? How many reps can I do? Go for time, or how much can I train? How much can I push myself? But people don't realize they're going to push themselves off the cliff.
They're not really training. They're exercising.
Yeah.
Or what I used to say is like you're killing demons. Right? They're going there, they're beating themselves up to a pulp because they're killing demons.
Yeah.
I don't judge, right? If that's what you want to do it, but understand everything has consequences. If you want to do training, like it took me 3 years to get to that 48 kilo one-arm swing test. 3 years of training. Okay, my press was the same way. 3 years. How patient are you? How much do you want your goal?
Yeah.
How willing are you not to give in and not to give up?
Yeah. Listen, it takes so much patience, and people don't realize this, but you got to be so dedicated, and at the same time you got to go up in increments, because if you push too soon, then you're going to blow it.
Right. And that's part of the person Pavel's principles that is so enlightening, is that it teaches you how to wave the loads and principles of training. It's not just random, random acts of variety, right? It's not random acts. It's, you gotta go up, you gotta go down. There's so much to do it, but you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Only if you want to succeed.
That's it.
You need a plan.
There's some people that don't really care about numbers. They just want to feel good. They just want to move. And that's good too. It's cool. You got some men that they're not too concerned about, I want to lift this or get here, but they just need something to get started. someone that
Right.
has never really done anything before. What type of advice could you give someone like that? A man
Well,
that's maybe middle aged and has never really done any sports or any training. What can we tell him? What type of advice can we give that person?
first you gotta walk. You gotta walk, and you have to be able to make sure that all the joints move.
Yeah.
Right. So walking is the most. So from my mindset, which I got from Paul Chek, who was the father of functional training, came out in the 90s. It went from bodybuilding, and then Paul Chek brought in the concept of functional training, which is not sitting in machines and using implements and using these primal patterns. There's, in my mind, from Chek, there's 7 primal patterns of movement, basic movement patterns, not loading, but movement. So you have squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, bending, twisting, and gait. So walking or crawling or swimming or sprinting, running. So that's how I program it. Signs like when I come up, it says like, okay, we need to have some type of squat pattern. I don't put a bar on somebody's back so they can do a free squat, right? But I'll have them hold on to a pole and squat out. They have to be able to do some type of lunging movement pattern, and so on and so forth. So I start there, and I'm not concerned of load or progression as much as I am first be able to get into their body. Walking is the entry point into the body and the mind.
Excellent.
Okay. And then and then the other thing is, things that Chet turned me on to, you got flexibility / mobility. So let's look at stability, strength, endurance, power in that sequence. So if you're not mobile, you have no business. Like if I can't squat to parallel, I don't need to go heavy. Okay? If I am not stable, I don't need to challenge myself with power. Power comes at the end. If I'm not strong, like if you don't have any strength, what are you going to endure? If you can't do one push-up, you're going to train for push-up endurance? No, it's silly. You have to get strong. So it's mobility, flexibility, stability, strength, endurance, power. So that's when I train people, they come in, that's what I'm looking at. We're going to check all their joints. This moves, that doesn't move. Okay, we're going to focus on moving that shoulder, opening it up with a variety of ways. Most people, get your 10,000 steps. I love the digital counters, right? How many steps do you do? Well, I did 150. Well, that's bad. Let's get 150. You teach them. That was the takeaway from gymnastics, right? The big takeaway from gymnastics was there's no way to do the next level until you can own the first level. Like if I want to do a double backflip and I can't do a single backflip, it ain't going to happen. You don't have to. That's like Gray Cook says, right? That's a self-correcting exercise. Yeah. No one who can do a single backflip is going to try a double because it's impossible. And it's the same thing. You build, right? It's all about slow, steady progressions.
Exactly. It has to be progressive, and it has to be where the person has success every single session.
Exactly. And that's what, Danny Procopis, a 3-time world championship, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he says that to me all the time. He says, Coach, you always set me up to succeed. And I do. I want him to walk away. I don't want him to fail in the gym. And that's the art of coaching, right? So when I give him a load, if he's not up for that load, I won't give it to him. Everything I give to him, he will succeed. And I'll build on it, but sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like the kid goes in the gym and starts doing that bar and thinks he's going to bet 500 in a year. It doesn't happen. So set people up for success. Get them to, the base of all training is aerobic, right? If you can't walk a couple miles, you need to be able to walk a couple miles, right? And if
I'm just setting up my battery. Sorry, Mark.
No worries. Oh, he's resetting his battery.
Didn't want my laptop to die.
I'm right with you. In fact, I might have to do the same thing. But that's the whole idea, is like when I take beginners in, hold on a second, I'm gonna do the same thing. When I take beginners into their training, that's the basic template pattern that I set them up with. That I set them up with is those basic patterns. And in each workout, that's what we're doing, is we're working on flexibility, stability, and all different components. If they're really stable, I don't spend much time on stability. If they're really unstable, that goes to the top of the list. It's all individual. It's all individualized. So that's how I do. That's how I develop. And beginners are the best because they make progress doing very little. Right? You don't have to do crazy stuff to make progress as a beginner.
That's true. I think basically they're gonna make progress no matter what they do. You know, whatever it is.
They show up.
Yeah, they show up. That's it. I think that's the most important part for most people, is showing up, not just for the workout, but every other aspects in their lives. The minute you start showing up for things, everything else changes for you.
Exactly. See, trumps intensity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is, so I want to talk to you about the course that you're going to be coming up here to teach.
Yep.
And how did you come up with all these things, and where did you get them?
Well, like I said, all of this stuff came from my own need to be able to take care of myself. You know, I'd go to the chiropractor, I'd go to the massage therapist, and I'd get some relief and I'd get some help. And then, you know, I didn't have the money to get all the help I needed. I couldn't go to the massage therapist every day, but I needed massage work on my knee and my leg and my back every day.
Yeah.
And I realized through Paul Chek, who exposed me to Vladimir Janda, the Czechoslovakian physical therapist, who came up with this concept of length-tension relationships in the body. So every joint in the body, in order to be in neutral, needs a balanced level of tone on either side of the joint. So if your biceps are really tight, your triceps can't work well, or your pecs are really tight. So Yanda's philosophy was to stretch the tight muscles and activate the loose, weak muscles to get the body into neutral. So I took those concepts and started working on myself, you know. And my first foam roller was a martial arts bokken with a round bow stick, and I'd roll out my IT band with that, and it made it feel better. So I just extrapolated that to what I needed to stretch and what I needed to strengthen, and that was the basis of it. And the more I did it, the more refined it got. Then we got Kelly Starrett, who's really a mentor of mine, who said, you know, the name body maintenance is like every human being should be able to do basic maintenance on themselves. And I'm like, yeah, that's my concept. That's my belief. That's how I feel. Every human being should be able to do basic maintenance physically on themselves. And I like Starrett's approach because it's like, it's a very hardcore approach. It's like, you know, stick a lacrosse ball in it, roll on it, see if it feels better. It's, you know, everybody's afraid to do anything anymore without seeing their doctor. But my doctors weren't all that interested in helping me, except saying, don't exercise and take a bunch of drugs.
Yeah.
So I needed to learn how to do it. And so between Paul Chek and Vladimir Yanda's work that I studied, if you remember from back in the old days, I had a video called Restoring Lost Physical Function. It was the first level 2 back in 2007. So that's where Viking Warrior conditioning came from. That's where my Restoring Lost Physical Function was. And that was the first time I think that whole concept of length tension relationships was ever introduced in the fitness community, except for Paul Chek. He didn't speak to that specifically, except in, you know, passing homage to Yanda. But that's where this began, was learning how to balance out the tension on either sides of the joint and the body, front to back, side to side. A lot of my problems were from gymnastics, where, you know, you rotate. You think about all these athletes, right? So you have a golfer, you have a tennis player, you have a gymnast. They all rotate in one direction. What about the musculature that rotates you in the other direction? or the person in the checkout line that just only takes the groceries from left to right for 12 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. That's attention imbalance. So how do you figure those out, and how do you do those? That's where the body maintenance course originated, and then it evolved and refined.
Excellent. And what are you going to be teaching exactly? You don't have to necessarily go into specifics, but what would you say? What is the sequence, or what is the approach?
The approach is very basic, simple routine on 4 different implements. So you have the foam roller, you have the lacrosse ball, you have the floor. The tagline is, stretch like a gymnast, breathe like a yogi. Okay, and then overhead stick work for shoulders and upper back and spine. So the nice part about this is you can take all of those implements and use them in one session, or you can take one of them. Like you could just take the foam roller and you could do an assessment of your entire body on the foam roller. So the concept is assess, then address. So you're going from, there's a sequence I'm going to teach people of how to get started. It's here, 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 here. And you'll know, because it'll like, I don't feel anything. Like, oh, I feel something. That's where you address. And then it's the same thing with a lacrosse ball. Very specific routine, simple, so it's repeatable. And then the floor work, very basic stretches. The emphasis on the floor work and stretching. Most people hate to stretch because they don't know how to breathe.
Yeah.
Once you learn how to, there's a reflex called the pneumomuscular reflex, and you sigh, right? Yeah. There's an autonomic relaxation of the muscles. Well, an exhalation is the same thing. So people, when they stretch, they get into this big tug of war with their body, and they're making themselves tighter rather than looser. So teaching them how to stretch, some very basic stretches that cover the whole body. And then we go into overhead work, some very, very dramatic stuff that I've learned through my old shoulder injury on the TRX and with just a simple stick of how to activate the scapula. Because most shoulder issues, most people's scapulas are dysfunctional. So teaching them how to move their scapula, move their shoulder, open up their lats, the super muscles, right? How to, the lats are good if they're strong, but they also can really be dysfunctional in your shoulder if they're too tight. So that's the gist of it. And learning how to do this routine and how to model a lot of the manual. Remember, they get a 40-page manual too. So in the manual, there's progressions and regressions, because a lot of this stuff they'll get on the ball or they'll get on the roller. It's too hard. So how do I regress it? How do I make this posture easier to handle? Because the idea, people think, oh, the idea is to be in pain. No, the idea is to relax the muscles, release the muscles. The pain, we'll talk about that in the course. It's, you get a paper cut, people say that's pain. You get hit with an axe, they say that's pain. It's not, there's the pain, word pain is, covers, it's like love, right? I love my cat, I love my wife. It's not the same thing, right?
Exactly.
So it covers a lot of territory, but it's the same word. So pain, pain, pain. What's pain? So the idea is to make the muscles release and to give you it. It's about empowering people to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So you don't have to run off all the time and, always see another practitioner. You can learn. Now, sometimes, I say this all the time. When you need one, nothing will do but a surgeon or a chiropractor. Like, I love my surgeon, right? But I'm not going to go to see the surgeon every time I got an owie because, my legs are sore because I did a hard workout. So you need to learn how to take care of yourself in a way that's functional. And that's what this is about. So people have the tools and the techniques. It's very specific techniques that allow people to basically run through their body in a short period of time and set themselves up for the rest of the day. So you can go into your training, you can go into your life as square, plumb, and neutral as possible.
So this course is basically for anyone. It's for everyone.
Not just for trainers. No, I teach this on tomorrow morning. I have a class every Friday morning at the studio based on this called Body Maintenance. No trainers there, just regular people get on the floor and roll around and, learn how to take care of their body. So yeah, no, it's
And
definitely for everybody.
what would you say to someone that, thinks they already know this stuff, foam rolling and lacrosse ball and stretches, I already know that stuff. Why do I need to come to your course?
Because they will learn stuff they don't know. Because there's techniques that I've learned from, 25 years of experimenting on myself and my students that they don't know. And it's not, it's like Pavel stuff, right? It's very simple, but it's very direct.
Yeah. It's not just the kettlebell. It goes way deeper than that.
Right. And it's not just lying on the roller and just making yourself hurt. So
that's it.
It's literally something for everybody. And you get me for 8 hours too. And so there's whatever other things that need to be done as far as people's individual, you get access to that as well.
Yeah. We're really looking forward to it, Mark. And we're so happy that you at our studio.
I'm excited to meet you in person, man. I so admire what you do. I always love watching your videos. I love watching you move. You remind me of a gymnast. Your movements and your strength, everything is so clean. I wish I could move as well as you do, man. I'm always impressed with everything you do. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you and learning from you as well. So
the feeling is very mutual.
Great.
So I guess I'm not sure if we have any questions from our viewers. If you guys have any questions to Mark, now's the time up. We had 10. They pretty much all said hi and hello. So I'm sure they were watching and enjoying. But besides that, is there anything else that you'd like to ask me, or you'd like to say to our viewers about your course, or anything at all?
Well, I just hope everybody that has any interest in it comes out and gets to share this time and learn some stuff. I think it'll also be, if it's not just for trainers, but if you're a trainer, this will really help you work with your students. And because again, it's not just a bunch of exercise. It's not a philosophy, but it's a routine and an approach to how to train the body and how to get yourself ready for hard training and how to recover from hard training. So I think it will pass along a lot of useful information of how to deal with clients that have certain specific issues that you may or may not feel you've been able to address, as well to empower them. And I think people will get a lot out of it. So anybody that's close or is interested, I think they'll get their money's worth. There's no doubt they'll get their money's worth.
Excellent. Mark, again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule and interrupting your nap.
I'll make up for it.
And I guess we'll see you in a few weeks.
Excellent. I'm so looking forward to it. And meeting Tanya and just being up there. I've never been to Montreal, so I'm very excited about that. And just, doing what I love to do is helping other people and teaching. So it's what I do.
Yeah. Thank you very much. One last question.
Sure.
What are you having for dinner tonight?
I don't know. What am I having for dinner tonight? Whatever I can find. So usually my first meal is, I have eggs and vegetables and yogurt. And And dinner's usually meat and vegetables, meat and potatoes. So we'll find something basic and a nice Zinfandel.
Well, we'll bring you to a nice meat place here in Montreal.
Excellent.
Cool.
So I can't wait. Well,
okay, brother.
Thanks so much for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. And I greatly appreciate all your support all this time. It really means a lot to me.
Definitely, Mark. We'll continue.
All right, sir.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.